I'm Sharon Hirsch. I'm retired, and I'm a public education advocate. I like organizations that have the courage to stand up for what a lot of us believe in, and that's what Progress Texas does.
It's Friday, June 20th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Despite the Texas GOP largely getting what it wanted this session, despite just about no appetite for special sessions on anyone's part, despite the terrible optics of a blatant power grab, and despite reluctance even among the more pragmatic of the Republican electeds, it's looking more and more likely that Governor Greg Abbott will do as Donald Trump demands and call a special session in Texas to redistrict the state into an even crazier mess of gerrymandering in order to minimize what the right clearly fears is shaping up to be a massive progressive backlash in the 2026 midterm elections. A CNN story this morning says Trump has targeted both Ohio and Texas to try and keep a panicked grip on the current narrow GOP majority in the U.S. House, and thus Texas Republicans are now considering a rare mid-decade redistricting effort to potentially gain up to 5 additional congressional seats. Much has just been done at the local level in Tarrant County, as we've talked about. A new map could shift GOP voters into Democratic-held districts, especially targeting Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez, whose border districts lean towards Trump in 2024. But that redistricting scheme would carry risks, as it could inadvertently weaken Republican incumbents in supposedly safe red districts. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries warns that such a move could backfire, as the Dems only need 3 seats to retake the House. A redistricting battle is underway in Wisconsin as well. Texas House Minority Leader Gene Wu of Houston says, quote, Texas Republicans should stand by the rule of law and the maps they drew 4 years ago, or they should finally work with Democrats to draw fair, independent congressional maps. Anything less is a desperate power grab from a party that knows Texas voters are ready to show them the door, unquote. With just a couple of days left on the clock, we're also still waiting on the governor for a clear indication on what he's going to do with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's THC ban. Forrest Wilder at Texas Monthly boils it down nicely. Governor Abbott is choosing here between personal freedom in Texas or a nanny state in Texas. The governor faces a tough decision by Sunday whether to veto SB 3, a bill that would shut down Texas's $5.5 billion legal cannabis industry and over 8,000 retail stores. Such a veto would be a major slap in the face to Dan Patrick, who could react to a very public snub by single-handedly eliminating any of Governor Abbott's future legislative priorities. On the other hand, approving SB 3 would anger veterans, business owners, key conservative groups, and companies in the state's medical marijuana program, which has just been expanded. Not to mention the millions of everyday voting Texans of all political persuasions who rely on cannabis products via the elimination of a massive market that the Republican-dominated legislature itself unintentionally created in 2019 when they followed the 2018 federal farm bill legalizing hemp, but failed to ban psychoactive hemp derivatives like Delta-8 and concentrated Delta-9, creating a loophole that has allowed a booming cannabis market to bloom in Texas, with THC-infused products now sold widely, even via vending machines. Wilder theorizes that should Governor Abbott call a special session on redistricting, he could also weasel out of this tight spot by calling one for a redo on SB 3. Texas THC fans who are also Texas Longhorns football fans may have seen that legendary running back and known cannabis dabbler Ricky Williams has weighed in on all this. Brittany Eubank and Joe Cowlow at KVUE-TV in Austin have platformed Ricky, saying, quote, this plant helped me stay balanced and healthy through the grind of professional football. Now it's helping veterans manage PTSD and families manage pain. These changes in the law don't protect Texans, it punishes them. The people of Texas deserve freedom of choice and don't need the government to tell them what they can and can't put in their body. If we've learned anything from the past decade, it's been that. I'm calling on my friend Greg Abbott to please veto this bill and stand with the veterans, farmers, and families who know there is a better way forward, unquote. And awesome, Ricky Williams was speaking there on behalf of Project Champion, which is a national coalition of former professional athletes advocating for cannabis reform, of which he is a co-founder. Video is linked in the show notes. This is one issue where there's considerable agreement across the aisle. The reliably right-wing rag The Texan reported recently that a Trump-affiliated polling firm has found broad bipartisan opposition to a full THC ban in Texas. 61% overall opposed, made up of 44% of Republicans, 66% of independents, and 80% of Democrats. Also due on Sunday from the governor, his signature or not, on two major bills involving religion in public schools. And we've talked a lot about both. Andrew Schneider at Houston Public Media says SB 10 would require the display of an explicitly Protestant wording of the Ten Commandments in all Texas public school classrooms. And SB 11 would allow school district trustee boards and charter school governing bodies to set aside time for prayer and Bible reading. One religious leader in Texas seems confident that the governor will reject both. Interfaith Alliance Vice President Guthrie Graves Fitzsimmons of Houston says, quote, "Religion thrives and flourishes when it is free from the government's interference. I think Governor Abbott believes that. I think he can still make the right decision for religious freedom, that religious instruction should not be led by the government. It should be led by our religious institutions, and families should get to pick who teaches their children about religion," unquote. And I wish I could say I share that optimism for a move from Governor Abbott that respects the American tradition of separation of church and state, as well as freedom from religion. Abbott's options on all of the above by Sunday are to sign these bills into law, veto them, or allow them to become law by default. And of course, we'll talk about all of this again on Monday. Also over this weekend, a great opportunity to hear in person from some of the most interesting progressive speakers in the land. Elizabeth Moore at the San Antonio Express-News says Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has been rallying across the country in his fight against the authoritarianism of Donald Trump's second administration. Bernie's Fighting Oligarchy tour hits McAllen tonight, where he'll be joined by Austin Congressman Greg Casar. Sunday afternoon at 2, both will be in Amarillo, joined by former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, all three of whom will appear on Sunday evening at 6 in Fort Worth. Highly recommended you hit one of those if you're nearby, but if you can't, I saw this same tour in Austin last fall during the Kamala Harris campaign, during which Bernie, Beto, and Casar were joined by New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Austin Congressman Lloyd Doggett at UT Austin. Feels like a lifetime ago, but we presented that entire event on this podcast feed, and the direct link to that pod back in early October of 24 is in the show notes this morning. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, which is funded by oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups, all while fact-based independent media outlets increasingly face threats to their funding. While access to these outlets is frequently free, as it is here at Progress Texas, it does take listener support to keep fact-based independent media going. If you've come to appreciate what we do at Progress Texas, now more than ever, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks to Robert King, Gary Kutak, and Jeffrey Learman, all of whom are on the team. We appreciate all of you very much. While you're at the website, make sure and grab the merch to match your progressive values. You'll see Y'all Means All Revolution and our most popular Humans Against Ted Cruz t-shirts, all union printed right here in Texas, alongside great stickers and more, all at progresstexas.org. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Friday, June 20th, 2025. Links to all of these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again on Monday.